Welcome to Minibuzz Uganda. Weekend utuli busoga Jinja Iganga Kamuli Yona.
Abasoga boy mwena.
This week, lero especially mwatugamba okay mwaleta bana Nakasero Primary School. When will you ever bring children from rural areas? Today we've come to Busoga. Esomero St. Kizito Karungami. Mwekubireko obugalo yo.
If you thought that abana ba Buganda Road they were sharp, katubaletedde bakiso. Bana bali sharp.
Mugenda again on the following things. One, how it was to be a child in the past. And of course nga Uganda tuwezeze emyaka 5 this year and abali kolero mwenda mwabiraba yaliyo, and we're just going to reflect on that, but also we'll be asking the children what do they like about school. Biche byali binyuma ate n'abakadde tuzemu n'abakadde nabo child mistress
senior citizen
batubulire nabo kike bali bagalidda kusomero ate kye kyabanyiza kusomero. Nja kusoka n'okubuuza pozi abakadde abakulu kyali kitya being a child.
Nga era tukasomeranga nga bwagana omuze kulusheje omusingira omugemera akagaali yakasiringisa yatuka kumusetu yati amayaji yakuleka sawa yakatira babuzi sawa nekisirawo
aseka buseke ko musera kwire
ndako akwa kazende nawe laba bali ndugere yayi bogera
Kazende boy is the one
kazende boy kazende ga ekitali wifanga mbere ifanga nenkula yeni yali muhuku.
But in this age and era, how do you start meeting any man and calling them daddy? They might think they are the sugar daddies, not the real daddies. Because you said every man was daddy, every woman was mommy.
Yeah, that to respecting ngabuli omukugamba ngabuli muntu mukulu abakitawo buli mukyalo mukulu aba mama wo. Era wadde wavanga ku ssomero ng'okoma wawaka nga bw'osanga abantu ng'abofukamira kukukono okola ki n'obabuuza ekitaliiwo kati.
Biki ebyo ebirala bye mwayiganga instead of going to nursery school baabayigiriza ki ebyo ebirala ab'ennaku zino bye batamanyi.
Wajja waluka emikeeno omukeeka ogwo bulungi mu kyayi era emikeeka toliyedde ebyayi waire biibo nga tosoboire entendere kuba entendere tetwadana twadijanga mu kibalibali era nga byona osobola obirukira mu byayi era baavaawo batwegeresa bino ebyaki ebyobufumbo ebyokujja mu maiso leero ebitakaaliwo era byona batwegeresanga.
Batubuzeko ku baana mugenda mu nursery school.
Yes.
Mu nursery school muyiga muki?
Nursery school tigamu okuluka empiira, mwayegamu okuluka dole, mwayegamu ku babegesa n'okusoma.
Tuzaana bya mama obundi yaba mama obundi yaba baba obundi yaba dada obundi yaba abaana. Twafumbanga emmere yaffe aye ng'olutereka emmere yaffe ng'abasomesa bajirya.
Mwalina nursery school mwedda?
Ife iranga okula bukule waweze emyaka 7 bakutwala mu kibira ng'oli kumpi mukazi wasoma ng'oyigibuli kimwe kijja ife yalinga nasale ate abaana era basoma bulungi.
What was the alternative to nursery school?
Wawe wakulira ayenze wenakulira nze nasoma nasale kubanga nze nasema nasale ku St. James Church waliwo nasale mpera ne twatukanga ku masomero ago ku nursery schools de twalingamu twabanga twayegezebwanga emizaano egy'abaana ng'oluusi twalinga n'obuntu obulyo tibupiira twabwetanga mu nkende twakina fanta nga tukyeta fanta kati twayega okwemba twayeganga n'okusoma mu luzungu nga ABCD efe ebyo twanze ebyo nabisoma twayega okubaleera mu luzungu aye most of the time ebiseera byaffe byagiranga mu kwemba nga tusoma mu nnemba. So this class work ebyokuwandiika nakyo ebyo byatwalanga ekiseera kitono aye nga ekiseera ekyasinga nga tuli
nasale amakulu ki?
Olungi aba taidi kubala yayagera okubala ayiga okusoma n'okuwandiika byonna abigira mu nasale. When was the last time you sat down with your father and your mother to just talk?
Mubeerako n'emboozi
nga gwe ne maama wo ne taata wo nga mutudde nga munyumya.
Tugalerako ebikoiko ebyalinga waita yakuwangako ebintu Ngani oyo mama oba taata? Mama omulabako buli lunaku, kyembuuza mama omulabako buli lunaku, taata omulabako buli lunaku, ofunako obudde n'otuula naye ne mwogera?
Nze mama ampaayira ku bwe yalinga n'omusaada. Omusaada era nga wazirawo mmere yamukuba. Mama yalira yajja owaibwe kayi bamunonayo owaibwe kayi yeira bamukuba ngeriza kukayi omusango. Nze mama yampaayiranga ku
oba akatwegattako tusinikira SMS kusimyo type Minibuzz ekirowoozo kyo oba ekibuuzo genda ku Facebook page yaffe Minibuzz Uganda, but also tweet us at Minibuzz Uganda. This time we are engaging children in rural areas, and you asked us Nakasero Primary is in town, so today we've come to Busoga region and we're talking about this, how it was being a child back then. Ani abayigiriza ebintu abakulu bye boogera kugomanya okufumba muyamba bazadde bamukola emirimu ewaka?
Yes.
Okola mulimu ki gwe waka?
Mufumba ki?
Emmere.
Mmere ki?
Nze ngoya akawunga kiro.
Ogoya akawunga abantu ne bakalya.
Nefumba enva.
Nva ki?
Bwe baleese ennyama nfumba.
Mukwala n'ennyama bagifumba batya?
Nze njifumba mwennyini.
Ogifumba otya?
Nenjoza nenteeka ku esepiki ku kyoto nenfukamu obuto nensiika.
Embeera kati ekyuse. Abaana kati basomera ebintu bye basoma biri different, like mu kibuga actually. Maybe mu rural areas speed yeetaaga okweyongeramu, naye kati how can we link both nti omwana w'omukyalo naye oba n'ow'omu kibuga ajja kufuna both informal and formal education, kubanga at the moment formal education is it's ahead. Yes,
it's ahead. Well, when you talk about linking both formal and informal, as a teacher, I believe if these two are linked together, our work will be done. Teachers' work.
When you say linking, how are you going to link this?
If this child is disciplined right from home, we shall not have trouble at school. But these children transfer their indiscipline, which is at home, and they trouble us at school. We are not supposed to cane them. They are aware. So we also have no way. We will really give them small punishments, but even that one, I will do that one. After all, talk of a stick, they will say teachers are not allowed to cane children. So personally, I believe if we can link that formal to the formal, because really one time I was talking to my kid, then he told me, but mommy, this is it .com error. You mean your computers are on? I told him that, are you going to use those computers to go and dig for us in the garden? And the computer is going to cook for us food? They talk of .com. So therefore I believe really if there is a way these two curriculums, rather informal and formal education, can be linked together, we shall be okay.
Information. Out of 3.5 million children, only 89,000 children back in nursery school. And to maybe Okubuza, what impact does really early childhood learning have on the child? Would say nursery is not as popular as it is in Kampala or town centers.
Nursery school in Kalungami, it is sponsored by Health Child.
Yes.
Now Health Child, so skills
Can you use English?
They are motivated to come to school. Yes. Because there is porridge at school. They provide porridge with sugar, so these children are able to P1 okusoma kuki kulungi n'ekindi abaana ba prepared n'obuntu bwetukobyeko sharing, playing together, like respecting what kale nursery school weba in a community kibayamba okola ki okuba nti bayida ate n'ekindi still in our place ndikwenda kulifayinga ku Kalungami is a place eri mu enfunza abaana bange isomero lyenkulira abaana balina enfunza more than a half. Era Health Child yetuyambye era yafuwera abaana enfunza yajja ne mu communities yabafuwera. So if this is done at school, abaana baba motivated to come and what? To come at school. Secondly, ka porridge ako kenkobye, even we also provide an incentive. twene kalunga musikiriza omuzaire yakoba omwana ati muna wakawazira kyakulya nja ku isomero danwayo ku kabuugi so naabanga ndikwende abazaire abo batemwina amaanyi okuba nti batugemeraku tusobola providing abaana n'obuugi. The other bad thing is eri abaana abatasobola abazaire nga tibeesobola abaana bano beene n'abajja mu bikaado baatema ebikaado child labor baba wayo ku obusente babasobola okulamu ebitabo uniform ate omuzaire yamukoba leeta ku akasente ako tulye waka. When they are the sole providers at this age, you can find out from them.
Why?
Yeah, they do that.
We're going to get an opportunity and talk about child labor in Musoga because we also realize there are so many sugarcane plantations. Abana banji bakola. So tugenda kolayo akantu wekacho nacho tuchogereko. Well, twafunye omukisa ntogera n'omukyala Betty Walakira. Bibino byatubulira about the impact of early childhood learning. Tukomawo tubabulire what we should get solutions to bridge the gap ultimately, but also remember later in the show tujja kuba twogera about what the child likes about school.
Early learning is acknowledged by Ministry of Education as a valid stage in early childhood development. It is left in the hands of the private sector. First of all, we could increase access to early learning opportunities for children in the rural areas by coming up with flexible solutions for each community depending on the capacity of the community. There are still people in the community who can come together and have the same vision for their children. These people can be supported either by government or non-government organizations to set up these centers and to provide their children with such opportunities of learning. But again, we could document the old practices that were really useful for child growth, for child development, and pass this on to the new current generation so that the old practices that were really positive are not watered down. The importance of early learning for children have been well documented in different studies. For example, children who have gone through the early learning stages or the formal early learning have been known to have high chances of completing their education and lesser chances of dropping out of school. Also, children who have gone through early learning are known to be less violent. And we know that we are currently living in a society which is very, very violent. There is a lot of violence. Therefore, this can be reduced through ensuring that every child goes through that important stage of development. We believe that government should come in to have a policy of ensuring that early learning centers are set up in, for instance, every community. Of late, Government of Uganda has recognized the importance of preschool education or nursery schools by even incorporating them into the National Development Plan. However, it is important to note that preschool education remains in the hands of the private sector. And the private sector is more interested in making profits. And therefore, they tend to establish these centers in urban areas at the expense of the rural communities. And that explains the issue of access, because currently, basing on the latest figures that we have, close to 90,000 children out of 3.5 million children within that age of preschool going children, that is between 3 to 5 years, access nursery school education. And this can be explained by high levels of poverty in the rural areas, which hinder communities from being able to pay for the service.
Preschool learning is really not accessible to children in rural areas. Most kindergartens are in urban centers.
It's a privilege for the rich.
And like I said, like I asked, maybe it's now preschool is a dumping place for children. Mwana mutwale nange nja kuba nkola wenadda yajja kubaza nyenga akoye kambe buli muzadde ng'olina omwana. It's your responsibility to impart informal education. Empisa, okufumba,
sharing.
Nze nange nagamba abantu nze kati bwendi bwano nsobola okukola buli kimu kye nsobola kuba muzeeyi wange yanjigiriza. So parents, informal education part is literally yours. Then abasomesa tubalekere formal education.
You're actually being very selfish as a parent if you don't teach your child
how to look after themselves at that young age. You're being mean because your parents taught you, but you're claiming you have no time to teach those values to your children.